All right, so this is the Rin final booklet. After all the play testing and proofreading, this is going to be it. Just drinking my little bit of wild pink rose, wild white rose, multiflora rose, and apple blossom tea. It's really excellent. I'm going to sit down and go over the final manuscript for everybody. This is the cover, and this is supposed to look like a beautiful magic tome. It's not changed a whole lot. It's been tweaked a little bit, a little more beautiful, a little more uh, crisp. And then we have the introduction, the dedication page, which is much, and the which my wife actually put together. And so it has the Rin logo, pretty simple. System, character creation, the 8 core classes, which are human, the 8 race classes, and then spellcasting, equipment and treasure, the setting, civilization and exploration rules, combat, and then the monster section. The dedication, this game is dedicated to Panagia Theotokos, the Mother of God, Saints Noah, Solomon, Andrew, the Fool for Christ, and Catherine, the Great Martyr. Very important saints to me, and I've consecrated my life to them, so they're really important. And thanks to my playtesters, James, David, Trey, Isaiah, Caleb, Samuel, and Ariana. And of Mirth is the publication publication system and role playing game of Mirth. Okay, and the Rin system. It's not changed. The one thing that's changed in the art, the opacity has been decreased by about 50%, so it can show up better. I want the art to show, and I want it to be vibrant, lucid, pulp fantasy art. That's really what I want for Rin. So, but it has been lowered so that you could still see that, still read the text. It was a little too dark. So you just have the basic rules here. Again, they've not changed from the previous review a whole lot. You have the description, dice, classes, rules for attributes, features, proficiencies, percentiles, checks. A few little notes I've put in that are helpful. Otherwise, it's not changed a whole lot. Finally, put page numbers in. That's page I. Character creation advancement. Again, just little tweaks and changes, adjustments, proofreading. Add a little box about the roll of natural 100 during character creation if you happen to roll 100. Just little tweaks. And again, the art is less opacity. The barbarian class has not changed a whole lot, just little tweaks again. Mainly in all the classes, it's just been moving things around a little bit, messing with some numbers. Like I know imposition changed from 20 to 10. Um, just little, that's a lot of debates. Does it cost 20? Does it cost 10? Does it cost 15? Is it 25 and twice per S? Is it 15 for once per S and 30 for twice per S? It's really just adjustments and mechanics. The only one that changed a little more thoroughly was the shaman, but even that really was just numbers really. It comes down to little tweaks and things from playtesting and proofreading. Then here's the bard. The page spread is the barbarian and the bard, so their art matches together. Again, tweaks and numbers. That's about it. The mage, little adjustments, not much. But here's, like I said, the final vision of everything. The paladin, again, little adjustments. The ranger here, same thing. Thief, where it's just little adjustments. You can see the art, though. You can see the final form of everything. The page numbers are in there. Everything's been adjusted and cleaned up, and consistency. And there's just things like sometimes it would say silver pieces, sometimes it would say SP. So I went through and consistently put silver pieces in the belonging section for each class. Sometimes one of the fonts were off, there's just little tweaks. The warrior weapon mastery I did end up going with the weapon mastery rule that I had debated for a while, that you roll it once, it applies to all mastered weapons, and then you distribute it, which I think is a cleaner mechanic. So again, might seem like a big change, but it was really in mind. It was just a debate as to how I wanted to do it. Wizard, same thing, not a whole lot of change. Centaur Knight, just little adjustments. Grey Elf Necromancer, again, some of his abilities got tweaked just like any other class. Halfling Burglar, that one did go through a few changes. Treasure Hunt I changed, it just wasn't working out. Pipeweed got weak. It was too powerful to do a complete heal for everyone, so it was a little adjusted. Hat Rabbit changed a little bit. Um, just pretty straightforward stuff. But again, really just tweaks. High Elf Priest, same thing. Just tweak the class. Hildor Scoundrel. Um, Lizardman Shaman. A lot of that changed. I got rid of the 3 mana cost. So everything's now either 1 mana, 2 mana, or 0 mana, depending on the effect. Most of them 1 or 2. So they were just more kind of standardized, and some of the abilities when you shape change got tweaked and changed and adjusted, but otherwise similar. No fundamental changes. CL Swashbuckler, again, little tweaks in certain elements, but that's all. None of the art really changed. It's just the opacity has changed. Yeah, it's all the same art. Again, little tweaks to the Druid, Wood Elf Druid. Spellcasting rules, again, little tweaks. I mean, you're looking at maybe 5% max that changed, really, if that. But again, it's all been kind of balanced and worked out and proofread. A lot of proofreading errors, a lot of spelling mistakes, consistency issues that I tried to clean up. Class-specific common treasures are all there, pretty much the same. The setting, just added a few little details, adjusted a few things, tried to make them a little bit more. Some of them just said like ancient city, repeated ideas, just switched up the adjectives, switched up ways of expressing things. Vast tropical port city state and an oasis. But I think actually pretty interesting. I think a lot of people. Again, I want to keep as much as possible to one page, so it's a setting on one page, and you're encouraged to use your own settings or adjust it or pull what you want from it. I think Tortuga is probably the most interesting element. Floating island built upon the back of a giant turtle filled with pirates and malefactors, changes positions according to the whims of the sea. So again, it's this giant turtle floating around. You have to find out where it is or know where it is to locate it. It's like a pirate haven. Civilization exploration rules are all in here. Very little's changed. Just they've just been cleaned up and embellished a little here or there. But again, everything's on one page. You just have, civilization exploration rules, one page. As much as possible combat, everything's been condensed. All the descriptions of ill effects have been standardized. So some abilities may have said blindness, other one said blind. Maybe one might say petrification, one say petrified. Tried to make everything consistent. Not a whole lot's changed there. Some of the damage types got it cleaned up a little bit. The monsters, just again editing, made the alphabetical index of monsters much cleaner and well laid out. Let's see, monster tier encounters. I did, for not all the tiers, have a perfect amount. So like you of monsters that match. Like it just happened that tier 1 happens to have 48 exactly. So you can just roll a d4 and then roll a d12 and it determine what's random. In the case of like tier 2, it does start back over at Amazon, so Amazons are twice as likely to occur. I could just put re-roll. I did have a dash there. The same thing with here. It starts back over. Actually, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it starts back over air elemental, animated armor, bandit chief. So there's the first 3 entries there. It was just I found that when you rolled it, it came up when we were playtesting. It was kind of annoying. Yeah, you could just re-roll, but if you don't like these, you can just re-roll them. I mean, I suppose under ideal circumstances, if I plotted everything out, I could have made it where the numbers were exact, but you really only have that in the case of tier 2 and 3, so I think it's fairly minor. Then you have the actual monster manual, which this was going through 235 entries is a massive amount of work. Some things were missing threat, just missing little notations. I tried to clean it up as much as possible. As far as I know, there are no mistakes. It's clean. Things are consistent. But again, if down the road I do find little, I could tweak it. I can just update the PDF and you can. But they were gone over extensively, so they should be pretty clean and consistent. Not having typos or errors. So you're just going back through the monster types and in automatons, bandits and barbarians, beastmen, beasts, celestials and fiends, dragons, dwarves, elves, and halflings, elementals, fae, giants, guards and soldiers, orcs and goblins, priests, wizards, and druids, undead last, and then going from the lesser to the greater undead, and that's the whole interior. And then you have the exterior. Everything has changed. I changed from simple to elegant because simple really, I mean simple. I mean nothing's wasted. It's all concise, but simple for a lot of people means bland. So instead I put elegant. Hopefully it's not a pretentious term. I think it fits. Rin tries to accomplish a lot. It has a lot of material but simple mechanics. So I think it's very dense, but it's not complicated. Like all the complexities and rules are justified. They add more than they take away, and that's really what you want in design. Is if you're going to add a level of complexity, it needs to add a lot more than it takes away. So it just says Rin, vibrant, lucid, pulp fantasy role-playing game. That's the art and the tone that describes Rin best. Classic, elegant, intuitive, immersive, and that's it. That's the Rin. That's going to be the core rulebook. The PDF will be available. I will have some print copies that are just printed out and placed into folders that I'll have for sale at the Con on the Cob and stuff. That's what we're doing for now, till we get an actual printing press situation set up. If it takes off, we can do a run of 100 or 1,000 or whatever. Whatever. It's all dependent upon it taking off. But this is what you get. I will say with Rin, even though it's basically 50 pages, 47, and you got 3 introductory pages, so 50. And then 2 cover pages, so I guess 52. But I would say 50 pages. It's very dense. The material is very dense. So the font is small. I tried to keep it as much as possible. Everything's on one page. It's very, for what you get, it's very dense. So that's why Rin's pricing is going to take it into account. That it's really more like a 100-page book than a 50. The amount of density, the material, the quality. I think it's going to be priced for that. It's not like a discount, or it's a lot of work and a lot of content in this concise little book. One thing I didn't do is I'm actually already working on the expanded content I've had in mind. And it's not just going to be extra stuff. It's just going to be building on what's already here and augmenting it. The character, just making expanding upon what's already there, not just giving you extra, you different weapon lists, different. It's not going to really work that way. It's just expanding the class identities, really, and explaining some things like details on attribute checks, like right now, to strength measures stature and might, constitution measures fortitude and resilience. We'll have a section about detailed issue, when things come up, how you distinguish between strength, constitution, agility, charisma, intellect. What are some practical, and then expanded proficiencies. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. But I did want to read actual class descriptions. When you get into here, they're pretty straightforward. So I do have some expanded class, and again, this is all from it's in early draft form of the expanded rules. But I wanted to read a little bit more. So the barbarian is a fierce warrior of the waste, gigantic in melancholy and mirth. The expanded description is heroic by strength. The barbarian slays his foes by overwhelming them, masters nature by surpassing it, engages the world by subduing it. For in his might and rage, even death itself becomes a contest. The bard is a wandering minstrel, versed in cunning and intrigue, fortune and glory. Creative and inspirational, the bard esteems both magic and swordplay as artistic endeavors, making problems yield to creativity and fortune, transforming adversity into advantage by imagination and charm as much as knowledge and skill. The mage is a sorcerer, spell sword, adept in the magic of battle. Gifted with innate magical talent, the mage commands the battlefield through dynamic spellcraft, seizing magic as a living force and unleashing its dangerous energies through instinct, courage, and will. He does not contemplate lightning, he catches it. He does not fear catastrophe, he welcomes it. The paladin is a warrior priest, a seer into the mysteries of the gods. Chosen to embody the will of the gods, the paladin transforms divine grace into courage, healing, protection, and righteous judgment, carrying sacred power into the world through heroic action. The ranger is a wilderness guide, skilled in archery and the felling of beasts. An expert hunter and traverser of the wild, the ranger combines masterful understanding of the natural world and its fell denizens with grand skill in archery, suffering no quarry to elude or surpass him. The thief is an expert in criminal undertakings, blade, stealth, and subterfuge. Criminal by profession, the thief succeeds through observation, concealment, infiltration, and precision of motion, his preparation making space for decisive expediency, being strongest when the execution of his craft is unseen and purpose of his venture unknown. And the last of the core races, the human races, are the wizard is a magic user steeped in the arcane. Um, I've skipped the warrior. The warrior is a champion possessing mastery over arms and tactics. Masterful in implements of war, the warrior perfects himself through steady excellence in the art of arms, refining instinct through discipline into expertise until his weapon becomes an extension of his will. The wizard is a magic user steeped in the arcane. Learned in magical law, the wizard alters reality through erudition and preparation, refining the inherited lore of ancient codices into ever more exact forms, preserving and expanding knowledge of the arcane. And the human races, being shorter lived, um, they more are professions, and the classes are ways of adventuring. They have different philosophies of adventuring, and their features and proficiencies engage the world in a very strong archetypical way. And this is where it's more like old school RPGs, AD&D, to where your class really determines the way you engage the world. It has a profound impact on how you solve issues and what your strengths and um, weaknesses are. Now, the race classes are totally different. Again, more of an old school approach. These are otherworldly beings, creatures. These are not professions. These are what they are as a sort of creature. So they're very different. You're playing like a different creature. So you can kind of think like in Star Trek, you're playing a Vulcan, or you're playing a different whole race, a whole different way of looking at life, looking at the world, looking, you live 1,000 years, 500 years. It's just a whole different approach to. The elves are very bound to nature. For instance, Rin elves, in the environment in which they live, they take on the physical qualities of the physical world. So sea elves look like the sea, desert elves look like the desert, mountain elves living in the mountains, the gray elves, they're gray. They take on the qualities. So it's kind of if you're living in the meadows, you have a floral look of the meadow. So but they're all like that. There are four different elves, but they're also they're just very different. So if you want to play a very otherworldly creature, it's not just like a reskinned human, which I think in later D&D it's really which basically everybody's a human. A dwarf is just a kind of a grumpy human, kind of short with a big beard. An elf is just a pretty human. An elf is just a halfling is just a little human, they're really just variations on humans, and I don't want that for Rin, and that's really not an old school way of approaching it. So here we go with the race classes. The Centaur Knight is an equine fighter skilled with bow and blade. A noble cavalry champion, the Centaur Knight rules the battlefield through heroic momentum, turning speed and distance into strength by uniting bow with lance to achieve decisive victory. So these are pulling on things like Chiron, the healer, Sagittarius, the archer, all these mythic archetypes of the centaur and the living knight. And the race classes also fill in niches that I think are great ideas, but they're not always they don't necessarily work as their full own class. But when you combine them with a race, it fills out what's kind of lacking in the class itself. So like a centaur knight, the problem with knights and things in shining armor is when your mounts, half of adventures, your mounts can't even go a lot of places. This solves that issue because you are the mount. So that's what the race classes, they look to embody very particular things. The halfling burglar could be kind of viewed as a mage thief if you're going to do like multi-classing. The high elf priest would be like a mage cleric. Hildor Scrounger would be like a fighter thief, but you're adding in the racial element, so it adds a whole new level. The Grey Elf Necromancer is a practitioner of grim and profane death magic. Haunted by mortality, the Grey Elf Necromancer commands death, memory, and forbidden secrets in pursuit of continuance, seeking to preserve the soul beyond the ruin of the body, the mystery of death being for him a boundary to be surpassed. Kind of a tragic figure, somewhat creepy, somewhat tragic, somewhat, a dark lord anywhere to just a tortured soul. And they get a very different look on life. They don't heal. They're kind of like half dead, half necromantic. Very different approach to life. They've been alive for hundreds of years, living in caverns. Just very different kind of approach to the world. Halfling Burglar is a lucky trickster dabbling in magic and larceny. Clever, cheerful, and improbably lucky, the Halfling Burglar is driven to exploration by curiosity and the lure of riches immemorable and forbidden. Seeing wonder in peril, he joins irrepressible optimism to blind fortune to become prevalent over the devices of his adversaries, surpassing the expectations his stature and station would seem to afford. So the improbable hero, halfling hero who saves the day, goes on the epic quest, finds the treasure. That's the Halfling Burglar. High Elf Priest is an otherworldly arcanist of noble lineage, and that word I use a lot, otherworldly, to describe the race classes, and they really are, but this is the most otherworldly, the High Elf Priest. Angelic in ancestry and contemplative in spirit, the High Elf Priest reveals the sacred liturgy hidden within creation through prophecy, chrismation, and the fading of the veil between heaven and earth, revealing splendors hidden beyond the mortal world. So he's more a part of the heavens rather than the paladin is sort of a worshiper of the heavens. The High Elf is actually, he has an angelic ancestry. And he's also steeped in the arcane, so it's a very interesting idea. If you wanted to play like Galadriel or Glorfindel or Feanor, these very powerful elves. This is kind of the idea there. Hill Dwarf Scoundrel is the durable craftsman and able fighter thief. A rugged and bearded survivor, the Hill Dwarf Scoundrel wins through cunning and resilience, exploiting weakness through opportune contrivance. Unburdened by notions of honor, he fashions victory by doing whatever suffices to work at the time. Lizardman Shaman is the shape-changing magician able to assume a fair form. Beauty concealing predation, the Lizardman Shaman kisses then devours, ruling through illusion, transformation, and manipulation of desire, wearing flesh and identity as masks to first fascinate, then consume. And this is always the thing, are you really a lizard, or are you really this beautiful enchantress? Or are you, it's a fluid identity? Are you an enchantress who becomes a monster? Are you a monster who can assume the force? So it's a neat, you can play on that. There's a lot of actually depth, even though it seems somewhat very simple. It's a lot of depth in role playing. It's actually in some ways the most, because you really have a dual identity. You have to choose when do you transform, at what point. It's a really neat idea. Sea Elf Swashbuckler, a master duelist, daring and kinetic. Oh, sorry, let me read it. Sea Elf Swashbuckler is a grandmaster swordsman with enchanted songs. So, expanded description: a master duelist, daring and kinetic, the Sea Elf Swashbuckler embodies grace and motion, a long-lived sojourner, haunter of seaside taverns, bustling ports, and windswept coast. He overcomes danger through effortless balance and intrepid audacity. Eyes lit with ocean stars, hair golden amber or sea green, pale skin silver blue or rose gold, voice melodic as the gentle sea and cacophonous as the gathering tempest. So that's the epic Sea Elf Swashbuckler. And last, the Wood Elf Druid. The Wood Elf Druid is a forest dweller with power over nature and its elements. Belonging wholly to the living world, the Wood Elf Druid works magic by entering into communion with the elements in trees, rivers, beasts, mountains, and storms. Rather than commanding the natural world, it yields itself willingly to him out of kinship. So these are the big distinctions you see. And I just want to go over that just because it's really, these archetypes are really important. And even the distinction between them individually and the distinction between them collectively as core class humans. These are professions. These are different ways of adventuring. And the expanded class, these are really different ways of being. You're a different kind of creature. You approach the world a whole different way. You have different values. So like the Wood Elf Druid, whereas like the Ranger is more a master of the way he studied the wilderness. He knows that he has kinship with it. He understands it. I'm sorry, he has understanding with it. He has some kinship with it, but he's not really necessarily a part of it. He's just learned to connect with it. The Wood Elf Druid actually has a kinship with nature. He's actually kind of a part of the natural world. It's not something that it's more of an intuitive bond. And the same with like the again, when you look at the High Elf Priest, he's a wizard. He's tied to the arcane inherently. He's tied to the divine world inherently, whereas the wizard, the mage, they pursue arcana in different ways. The mage just kind of channels it. The wizard studies it. The High Elf Priest has just a natural affinity with it, and same with the Paladin. The Paladin is going to follow the gods, a worship, discipline. The High Elf Priest is more just a part of the heavens. He belongs to them. And you just kind of see that along the in the race classes. So that's I think a really key distinction in Rin. It is an OSR element that I think Rin even emphasizes more. The classes in Rin are actually far more distinct than old school D&D, and more so even I think than the Schwarz Saga, the Dark Eye German RPG, which I just did a little playthrough of. Started to show the Star Trail. But it has a great distinction between the classes. That game does as well. It does it in a very different way. But so anyways, that's pretty much what I'm just gonna say for this is the final manuscript. This is what we're going to be selling. And it's going to be launching. We're hoping the end of August is the plan to get the website up and running and have it live and have everything ready to go. But yeah, this is it. This is the full book, and we have all kinds of interesting plans. We're going to be at Con on the Cob. October, I think 9th to 12th, I believe. We'll put more about that. But yeah, this is going to be the launch, and then I've got already the vision for expanded rules. I've got the Waste of adventure that's going to come out with it. Quick start guide. We're going to do a Discord. So there's a lot of great stuff coming. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a good night, and I'll let you guys go.